The Wealthy Life is brought to you by investment dealer Raymond James. Life well planned. See what a Raymond James advisor can do for you.
Transitioning into retirement is scary and exciting all at the same time. You have to find a new sense of purpose. And how are you going to fill your days? With me today is former pastor and current public service employee, Dan. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
I understand you're trying to figure out some pension options, but I want to know, what does retirement look like to you?
Retirement for me looks a lot different today than it looked 3 or 4 years ago. The philosopher Plato said, there is what we would like there to be, and there is what there is. 3 or 4 years ago, when I was looking at potential retirement and not planning seriously, I had envisions of a lot more freedom and availability to do the things I needed to do or wanted to do over the course of my life as I transitioned into retirement. Unfortunately now, as I look at it and I start to plan it, I'm seeing that the costs that are there for me moving forward, I may not have prepared well enough for now. I'll be looking at perhaps a pension that is half of my salary. I'm looking at increasing costs in almost everything that we do, from basic cable to utilities to vehicles to whatever. And I'm just a little bit concerned about how I'm going to move forward perhaps 20, 30 more years, depending on my lifespan, if I'm going to be sufficiently stable.
So you're feeling a lot of anxiety over money as you transition into retirement. I think it's a common feeling, especially for those people on pension. Early days, having a pension sounded fabulous, right? You work all those years, and then you retire and you've got pension coming in. But most people don't realize that a pension is, even a good pension, is usually only about half the income that you were used to.
Exactly.
If money was no object, what's the one thing you want to do most in retirement?
Well, I would like to travel more, and I would like to be able to support my family members who are less fortunate than I am as far as having a pension or anything of substance beyond. I have to also look at the opportunities that will present themselves as I move forward. I may need to have more disposable cash and disposable funds just to do the things that I want to do. Like, as I mentioned, travel is one of them. But I also want to invest in something productive for my time after my employ. And that's going to take investment money. That's going to take setting up a business for myself. Is going to take investment money. It's going to take time and finances to get that established over a 3-year period.
So what's the big question you have for me today?
The biggest question I have is a result of looking at what's available to me as an annual pension salary. The other thing is a lump sum payout, and whether I should or could invest that money and take some risks with it to ensure that I have a more financial future. As you mentioned earlier, my pension is about half of what I'm currently making.
Well, don't go away, because when we return, we're going to find out if Dan should take the pension or can he earn more money taking a lump sum. Welcome back. We're here with Dan to find out if he should take his pension or a lump sum instead. So Dan, the lump sum option is appealing to you if you can make more money at it. Am I right?
Looking long term, it's more appealing to me if I invest it properly and then I feel I can make more money and make it last longer. I don't know how long I'm going to live, but if I judge by my family, I'm looking at another 30 years post-retirement.
Okay.
And
we don't want you to live longer than your money.
No, I don't want to leave it. I work too hard for it. But the end of the day is, I'm not a risk taker in investment.
Okay.
So in order to use that sum and make it worth my while, I might have to take some risks, and then I take the risk of losing some of that.
You know, wouldn't it be nice if we can get a guaranteed 10% rate of return every year? That would just solve a lot of problems, but we can't.
Let me know.
So what type of an investment experience have you had thus far?
I've had fairly good success, but it's all been with very moderate and very conservative investing. And so although that will help supplement my future, again, I don't know that if I've made all the right choices. And as I look forward to the things that we talked about earlier and my costs, one of the things that really scares me is my mother has just recently passed away, but before that she was placed we had to place her in an old age home and assisted living. If that were to happen to me, then my money would be dwindling very quickly, because it's, on average, that's about $90,000 a year.
Well, it can be. It sounds like your mom had private care. There are a lot of government subsidized homes that can help reduce your expenses. You may or may not want to live in one of those. Well, I don't know if anyone wants to live in one of those, but that's something else that we need to plan for.
Right.
The reason I asked you about risk is the rate of return that you would earn on that lump sum is critical to making the decision. And there's risk involved. The nice thing, when you have a pension, that's a guaranteed income stream for life. So if you live 30 years, 40 years, if you live to be 105, you're going to keep getting a pension. When you take a lump sum and invest it, all of a sudden, you have to be careful, you have to plan, and you have to be smart with your money.
And I've never been accused of being smart.
Now, what is your pension versus your lump sum?
Well, it's interesting that you asked me that, because someone asked me that just last week, and so I calculated it. My pension would average out to about $45,000 per year,
Okay.
where the lump sum payment would be closer, well, in the ballpark of $850,000
Okay.
as a one-time payout.
So when you hear $850,000,
I'm off and running.
there's a lot of things you could do with that. Well, there's something called inflation that will quickly eat away at the income that both your pension or your lump sum will generate for you. Now, your pension, I assume because you're a public service worker, it is likely indexed for inflation?
It is.
Yes. So we need to make sure that any income you generate off your lump sum is also indexed for inflation. Just some quick math here. You would need to earn greater than 6% per year on that $850,000 to be comparable to taking your pension. So with current guaranteed rates of return lower than that,
Absolutely.
you would have to take some risk, and you'd be looking at a balanced or a growth portfolio which is going to go up and down with the markets. And I don't know if that's going to be the best idea for you given your existing level of fear and anxiety over money. That may be one more thing to worry about.
Definitely.
So the other option that I always encourage people to look at, if you can't change your income, can you change your expenses? There's a lot of different ways to accomplish the goals that you have. One of your top goals was traveling.
Right.
Well, there's ways that you can travel the world on next to nothing. Have you ever heard of home swaps, home exchanges?
Yes, but I've never really considered it.
Would you consider it?
If I had the information, then
Yeah.
yes, I would.
So essentially, a home exchange, you go on a website, you register your home, and you swap with someone else. You got a free place to stay. If you use your credit card wisely, that is, you can earn points to pay for your flights. And you have to eat there, you have to eat here. So all of a sudden, you've accomplished your goal of traveling without costing you very much money. Bottom line, Dan, there's a lot of other variables that need to be considered before making this important decision. But given your risk profile, I'm leaning towards the pension is a better option for you, because I just don't feel comfortable aiming for a higher rate of return. I think the risk would be too much.
Excellent. Very good to know.
So does that help answer your question?
It does. It helps focus on what I need to do and makes that decision easier.
Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you very much for having me.